Hey, are you a business owner, entrepreneur, or professional? If so, we want you to apply to be a featured guest on our show. My name is Adam Torres, and I host the Mission Matters series of podcasts. I've recorded over 3,000 episodes, and we are just getting started. How do you know if you'd be a good guest to be on the show? Well, only one way to find out, and that's to apply, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. We want guests that have a story to tell, guests with a brand, a product, or a service that can benefit my audience of listeners. If this sounds like you, go to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. I'd love to talk to you and get to know more about your story. Again, head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, now let's get into the show. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Jordan Levy on the line. He's co-founder and executive director over at CapSource. Jordan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right, Jordan. So I'm excited to get into today's topic. So we're going to talk a little bit more about experiential hiring and what that looks like. So, but just to get us kicked off, tell us a little bit more about your background and really how you got started on this path as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I love that. And it's really great to be here. So, I love leading with the concept of experiential hiring, and it's something that we actually just introduced into our model not long ago. I'm actually an education technology entrepreneur, so really more focused on experiential learning up until very recently, until we realized, hey, there's actually another side to the equation of what we're doing. So, long story short, started, becoming an entrepreneur as a student, kind of realized while I was a student that I wasn't learning pretty much anything about industry and what it was like to work as part of an organization. And I felt like that was a big missed opportunity that could have helped me craft a overall strategy for how I wanted to engage in my career. And so I kind of created my own roadmap and my own learning experience by going out and becoming an entrepreneur. And I always like to say that a lot of times learning is about chasing curiosity and really going deep right into whatever subject interests you. But entrepreneurship is about monetizing curiosity. It's about going deeper into what you like. And so as I tried to learn more about what was out there, I realized, hey, there might actually be a way to offer products that can actually do a really great job at training students for the real world. And so that's really how we started, offering experiential learning software and services to schools around the world, helping them connect their students with industry. And over the past year, after doing it hundreds of times, we realized, hey, there's actually something in this for the industry partners that are getting involved, and we're calling that experiential hiring, and that's what we're excited to talk to you about today, Adam.
So, Jordan, if you could, go back and give that Jordan that's just getting started as an entrepreneur some advice, what kind of things would you tell him?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think, it's something actually we ask entrepreneurs all the time. When we're engaging them and kind of helping to connect them with the next gen, because that's kind of putting, the student in the perspective of the entrepreneur. Hey, what would you say to yourself? And so, for me, I think, one of the most important things about, starting out is really building a team, building a group of people that you can trust, that are your confidants, that you can rely on, that deliver. That come up with their own creative ideas and aren't just, saying yes and answering questions, but actually coming up with new ways to innovate the company and take it to the next level. And, I started my first business as an entrepreneur with co-founders, grew that business for a few years, and then I actually created another business afterwards. And I kind of learned during that process the importance of identifying the right co-founders and really, finding your weaknesses and actually identifying folks that can fill those weaknesses and then some, and bring something really new and fresh to the table. So I think that's something that I find really important for early stage entrepreneurs is, be brutally honest with yourself about what you're good at and also what you're not, and figure out how to backfill from there.
So great advice, by the way, Jordan. I think it's very helpful, and I want to switch it up a bit. So I do want to go further into today's topic. So maybe start off by tell us a little bit more about this concept of experiential hiring. Like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, and so it's funny to use the word experience, right? Because you think about experience, your head immediately goes user experience, right? And that's kind of like
Correct.
a whole new emerging field ever since technology became, at the palm of our hands, and pretty much the way that all of us engage with each other and the businesses that we choose to work with, whether as a vendor or as a customer. And so I think, for me, thinking about the experience is really where we start. And so our whole philosophy is rooted in education. So rather than looking at talent as a pool of people that you're trying to pluck the best out of, we actually look at talent as, potential influencers out there in the world that can actually help your brand grow. And so the best thing that you could do with those people that are interested in applying to work at your organization is give them a chance to learn more, to dive deeper. And that, to me, is what experiential hiring is all about, giving the candidates an experience that actually gets them to understand more about the organization, the business model, the industry, the product, and also the role that they would be going into before they're hired. Because I think the worst thing, especially with millennials, especially with all these new industries popping up, new roles popping up, such nuanced skill sets that we all need in order to reach the next level, the only way to really know if these people are a good fit is to actually have them prove that they're a good fit. And so we typically use a combination of a few different methodologies, case-based assessments, so actually coming up with unique challenges. It's nothing new. It's something that's been used by the big consulting firms for years during interviews. It's also been used by, emerging high growth companies. DoorDash, one of their interview tendencies is to give, a case challenge to their candidates and actually see what they come up with, after a day, a few days, a week worth of time, depending on the role and, how complex the assignment is. And I think that's such a great way for them to display their skill set. And then we go one layer deeper and say, hey, that's not it, right? Let's actually mobilize a team of candidates, a team of people to work with each other and actually prove that together they can work and synthesize information and produce results. And that team-based, project-based, component, we call them virtual internship programs, really serves as an entree into the organization. And it's especially useful, for, your earlier hires, right? Like the entry level, lateral hires, first, second, third, level into your organization. I think that's the place that you really want to make sure that when you move forward and hire them and you're going to spend all that money in training, that you're actually picking the folks that are going to make it the distance. And I think that's what experiential hiring is all about.
No, I really love the concept. I mean, to me, it really takes us to, it kind of takes us to that next level in my mind. So I think like experiential learning or the other ways the term's been used, to me, it's like next level. So where do you see, like in the marketplace, like how do you see this concept of experiential learning kind of evolving and the adoption taking place? Because to me, it's still fairly new.
Yeah, it is new. And the interesting thing is that experiential learning, is a concept that's been around for decades. Industry integrated project-based experiential learning, meaning students, in MBA programs and undergrad programs, computer science, whatever it might be, actually get a chance to work with a company on a real project. That's actually fairly new. It started in the 90s, and it's really grown since then to be much more popular. And we're using that same philosophy to train and onboard new talent. That's exactly the experiential hiring method that we're adopting for industry to really figure out who the best hires are. And I think that, I saw the term last year for the first time, flipped hiring, which I think is really kind of rooted in the same philosophy. It says, hey, don't hire and then vet, vet and hire. And figuring out ways to do effectively is a challenge. I mean, there's lots of assessment companies out there, but I think the best way to do it is, narrow down the funnel based on those cases, which are high volume, and then give the highest quality talent project-based opportunities, which are a little bit more complex and, to manage, but high impact.
What kind of feedback have you kind of received from either clients or otherwise just on the model overall? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, overall, we love working with such a diverse group of industry partners. We've worked with everything from, early stage startups that really just actually need help figuring out what their product is before they can even go to market and even figure out who out there would want it, versus, some of the, biggest companies out there. We've worked with Verizon. We've worked with, the Weather Channel, Adidas, like all of these amazing organizations that really want to tap into, what can these young professionals come up with that maybe our team, that's been bogged down in the details for so long, haven't been able to think about. And so for us, that's really where it all starts. And I think one of the most interesting things is, like, you look at the last 50 years, how many of those Fortune 500 companies are still around today? Actually, it's far less than many people even think. It's the churn of how many of these large, companies that really make up our economy, from a metric standpoint, end up disappearing over a 50-year period. And it's because they're not engaged with the next generation. And so if you can figure out how to engage that talent and not overlook them, because very soon, not only are they going to be the core team that manages the organization, but even more so, they're going to be the core buyer of that organization. And if you're engaging them as, seniors in high school, undergrad students, grad students, young professionals, even if you don't hire them, they still have such a great experience to walk away from. Maybe not as a customer, because a lot of these companies, Salesforce isn't selling to every single student coming out of college. But if Salesforce gets an opportunity to engage a college student, then when they have a choice of, hey, we're deciding on a new CRM for our organization, what do you think? It's pretty obvious to them, hey, this might be a really great opportunity to bring up Salesforce because I have such a good affinity towards them.
No, that's a great example, Jordan. So final question. So if somebody's listening to this and they want more information and they want to learn more about CapSource, number one, what are the right types of organizations that are typically a good fit? And then number two, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and your team?
Thanks, Adam. So I think the best fit organizations are organizations that consider themselves innovative, that are high growth, that are interested in learning from that next generation. A good example of this is there's a high growth company in Dallas-Fort Worth area called CoinSource. They're our first preferred partner in CapSource. They've done competitions with us as a format. So instead of doing just one team, of students, they're actually engaging dozens of students at once to figure out the top talent. Last year, 44 students, they hired the top 4, which was just an amazing experience for those young professionals and an amazing experience to get great insights on their new product. So that's the type of organization that we like to work with, because they're usually in need of young professionals that can hit the ground running and that can really make a difference. And so, we're excited. We just wrapped up a competition with DoorDash, which was an incredible way for students to start thinking about how, college meal plans, can be done in the age of COVID and beyond. And so these are all examples of, how a young professional can make a difference even before they become part of the organization. And so with that, I'll say, we're always open to working with all types of organizations. We support schools as they look to grow their experiential learning impact, and companies as they look to engage and hire young professionals. You can learn more about us at capsource.io, CAPSOURCE.io. We're on all the great socials, especially LinkedIn. You can learn more about us there. And if you're interested, right on the top of our website, there's an ability to actually schedule time directly with us, and we'd love to hear from you. So with that, I'll say thank you so much, Adam. This was a lot of fun. It was great catching up and really learning a little bit more about your audience and the types of folks that are interested in this type of really cool, innovative hiring and learning technique.
Fantastic. Well, Jordan, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work that you're up to. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you're a first-time listener, don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Love to have you come back and listen to some more episodes. We have some more great guests coming up for you. Don't want you to miss out on those. And if you're watching our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, of course, hit the subscribe button there. But more importantly, leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things you're doing, and to keep the conversation going over in the YouTube community. And Jordan, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Adam.